Hi, my name's Jeff Hunter. I'm here to talk to you about how to find your work. People ask me all the time, Jeff, how do I find a job? It makes sense that they ask me that because I used to be a high-tech CEO and I built companies that employed people. I used to run some of the world's largest talent management recruiting organizations of their kind and literally worked on machines that got thousands of people work. And now I've created and built a company that's consulting with and advising some of the world's best companies on how to think about talent, people, and strategy. So it makes sense I get that question, and I actually love answering that question because I love helping people think about their lives and how work plays into their lives. But recently I've been incredibly busy and I haven't been able to answer that question a lot. And so I asked my partners at Q&A Productions to help me record my answer to this question because I'd like to be able to tell people what I think, right or wrong, and help more people. So you want to find a job and you're asking yourself, how do I find a job? First step, don't ask that question. I understand you need work. I understand you have bills to pay. I understand there's a certain part of your ego that's engaged in trying to make you feel like you have something important to add to the world and you want to have a great job and you want a big salary. You should do what it takes to go find those jobs, but make a certain sliver of time, a certain percentage of your time to step back and ask a different question. And that question is, how do I unleash my potential? Now, anybody who knows me knows that I'm not the kind of guy who likes fancy philosophical questions. It's just not who I am. I'm a practical business builder type of person. But how do I unleash my potential isn't a fancy philosophical question. How do I unleash my potential is actually the only path I can think of to competitive advantage in the current job market and future job market. This video is to tell you why I think that and to give you a way of thinking about how to identify what is your potential and where is the best place to employ it. So first, let's talk about what a job is. So job is really where you get paid to work. It's that simple. Someone pays you, you do work. So what does that mean? Well, think of it this way. It's like you're a tool and then you use procedures to do work. In the very start, before there was really technology other than fire and flint tools, you were the tool. The human being was the tool, and the procedure was pretty much go out and kill the thing you need to eat, or harvest the thing you need to eat, or build the shelter you need to have. It was still a procedure, but it was a relatively simple one. As human beings have used language and concept, they've built more and more technology and more complexity. And really what a job is today is, how do I, a human, as a tool, use other tools to follow procedures? That's by and large what a lot of work is. Not all work, but a lot of work. And here's the problem with that. If your job is to be a tool that follows procedures, you've got major competition. And the major competition is robots. Robots are actually really good at being tools that follow procedures. And I think it would surprise you if you sat back and thought about how much work really is just about procedure following. Lawyers, doctors, engineers, they follow procedures. A lot of procedures, a lot of rules. Jobs that you think that you aspire to that could be big, important jobs, those jobs are being disrupted by robots. And the problem is, you can't compete against a robot. There's no chance that you're ever going to be as fast and cheap and good at what a robot does as a robot. So you don't want to compete against a robot for a job. What you want to do is make the robot play your game. You want to build competitive advantage in things that are uniquely human. Judgment, insight, perspective, aesthetic, relationships. These are the things that are uniquely human, and that's where you want to find and unleash your potential. It's terrible because the US education system, your parents, everything around you has been telling you to be a robot. And what's always sort of shocked me is everyone keeps having fights about the word better and not about the concept of robot. So we're all talking about how to try to be better, faster, cheaper at things that robots will always be better, faster, cheaper at. And it's not going to get any better, and it's going to get worse. It's a race to the bottom. What you want to be doing is figuring out what's unique about you, what's special about you, not in a you got a blue ribbon for showing up sort of way, but what is uniquely valuable about you, make a job or a living there. You want to unleash that potential. So great. So what's the secret? How do you do that? I'm going to teach you something called the Big Four. Talentism as a business doesn't really work with individuals. We work with companies, we work with leaders, we don't work with job seekers. But we use this concept of the Big Four in everything we do because we really do believe that great companies are better at unleashing potential and unlocking productivity than bad companies, and great leaders are good at understanding what they're like, clear about what they're like, and setting up companies consistent with that. We use this with many different companies and many different founders as a way to sort of describe what leaders and people are like and how to build great businesses based on that. But that doesn't mean you have to be a founder or a CEO. It doesn't mean you have to be a leader. It means that you just need to figure out what your Big Four is. And so let's talk about that. What are the Big Four? The Big Four are purpose, talent, opportunity, and home. Purpose is a big word these days, gets a lot of play. I think, like most words we're going to talk about today, very confusing because people mean a lot of different things. Is purpose like passion? Is it like grit? Is it like determination? No, it's not like any of those things. And it's important to realize how it's different. So think about the difference between purpose and passion as the difference between outside and inside. When you have something that you're passionate about, it exists for you. When you have something that you're purposeful about, you exist for it. So you want to find work that you exist for, not work that you think is fun, intriguing, etc., because that's going to go away fast. Anybody who's ever tried to be excellent at anything realizes that eventually work gets hard. And hard isn't fun. It just isn't. And so what's going to propel you through the hard times? It's going to be purpose. It's not going to be determination because determination runs out. It's not going to be grit because grit runs out. What doesn't run out is purpose as long as it has two components. One, compulsion. Two, meaning. Compulsion is the thing that you can't stop. It's the idea you can't get out of your head, thing you can't stop talking about. It's the work you don't want to put down. And even if you could put it down, you wouldn't want to. Compulsion is critical. Compulsion is the element that drives you to continue moving forward, even when everything else tells you stop. You keep moving forward because of compulsion. It is not possible to have greatness without compulsion. You can't find me a case of someone who was great at something over an extended period of time and compulsion wasn't the driver behind it. Second, meaning. So what happens when you have compulsion? You do work, you do something, and then it has an effect, it has an outcome. That outcome, whatever is produced by that compulsion, has to feel good to you. It has to feel like it has place. It has meaning. The outcomes that are produced by your compulsion have to feel like you have a place in the world because you did that thing. As human beings, as a very social, tribal species, we typically find meaning in helping others. Doesn't mean directly helping others, but building something that is helpful to others, providing a service that's helpful to others, or just extending a hand to help someone. Meaning is the fuel that keeps the compulsion going. So when you have compulsion, you keep going through the hard times, and then when it gets really, really hard, you realize that the work is worth it. So you want meaning and you want compulsion. And when you have meaning and compulsion, you have purpose. Talent. Everybody talks about talent. Talent is the most overused word in probably the world of work. So everyone throws it around, and therefore it's confusing and it seems trite and nobody knows what it means. So let me propose a definition for you. Talent is distinctiveness times practice. When we say somebody is talented, what we're really saying is that person is distinctive. They stand out from the rest, from the other people who do that thing. When we say Elon Musk is talented, what we're saying is he is better at the things he does. He is distinctive in the things he does compared to other people. Distinctiveness typically comes from an odd combination of traits. It comes from a combination of strengths that usually aren't found in others. It isn't that any particular strength is the best in the world. That's not what distinctiveness is. It's not that Elon Musk is the world's best mathematician or the best businessman or the best engineer, but he is a unique combination of strengths in all those areas. And so what you want to be thinking about is, what strengths do you have that are in combination in a unique way? And what that typically means is unique way is those strengths combine when most people think they shouldn't. As an example, a person who is both highly analytical and highly empathetic. Those traits typically are found in two different kinds of people. They're not found in the same person. When they come together, that's a unique intersection, and that is distinctiveness. But even if you have distinctive capabilities, distinctive strengths, it won't matter if they never get better. Because the world is moving fast. People are being born, people are dying, the world is moving forward, labor markets are moving forward, and new talented people are coming up every day. You've got distinctiveness, and then you practice it, and you get better. Now let's combine this with purpose. If your purpose is your talent, and you are driving forward because of compulsion, and you are getting a positive feedback feeling because of meaning, then when you employ this distinctiveness and you've got practice, you have competitive advantage. Employing those two things won't mean anything if you don't have opportunity. An opportunity, we describe it as market minus fear. Here's what that means. In order to have work, you must have a market. You must have someone or some people who actually want the distinctive thing that you're compulsive about. They want the value you create. And so you have to find that market. Now, the beautiful thing about today versus 100 years ago is your market is literally anybody who you can connect to with digital technologies. It used to be your market was no further than how far you could travel in a day. But now your market is billions of people. And so even if you only find 20, 30,000 people out of billions who want what you have a big market. A market is literally people who want the unique value that you provide. That market doesn't have to be a money market. It doesn't have to be you give somebody something and they give you money. Markets get created all the time for lots of different reasons, and the exchange takes place in lots of different ways. It could be that you provide work for money. It could be you provide work for access. It could be you provide work for relationships. It could be lots of different things. And so a market is really just an exchange of value where what you have that is both purpose-driven and your talent is accepted by a group of people, and they give you something in return that you find valuable. That's the machine, but there's one last piece that we haven't talked about, which is fear. Fear is the brake on this engine. Compulsion is the engine. Compulsion drives it forward. Meaning is the fuel. Talent is the thing you are delivering. Market is the place you're delivering it to, but fear is the brake. Fear is the thing that prevents you from finding that compulsion. It prevents you from experimenting. It prevents you from figuring out the answer to this question of what is your purpose, talent, and opportunity. Fear is the thing that holds us back. It used to be that wasn't so big a deal because most of us could just plug into a labor machine that if we got good grades in school and went to a reasonable college, we'd get out and get an okay job, and that job would provide us with lifetime employment. But that doesn't exist anymore. And even where it does exist, it's changing rapidly. So you no longer can afford to be able to give in to your fear. You can't be working on that assembly line building a car knowing that your greatness lies elsewhere and hoping that that fear that prevents you from going and finding that greatness, hoping that that doesn't someday come day and bite you in the ass. It's going to bite you in the ass. Now, how do you think about getting a hold of fear? How do you think about getting through that? You have to find the fourth thing in the big four. You have to find your home. Home is where we feel psychologically safe. It's where we feel like we have a place. It's where we feel like we're honored. We're a part of something and we are respected for who we are and what we contribute. In our home, we speak up more than we do in someone else's home. We experiment more than we do in someone else's home. We take risks more than we do in someone else's home. So finding your home where you're going to have the opportunity to be your best is what you need to do. You need to find that home. That home is going to have two pieces to it. It's going to have a place and it's going to have people. It's a company, it's an organization, it's a group of people. And those people, by and large, have to celebrate, admire, and accept the things that you care about. If they don't, you won't find home. You will feel judged. You will feel like you are not in a place where you are accepted. You will be proactively defensive. And this fear that resides within you that prevents you from identifying and unleashing that compulsion, that fear is going to kill you. So we got to find your home. We got to find a place, and we got to find people that share, in a word, your culture. They share what you care about, what you feel comfortable about. How do you do this? So this is great. How do you find your purpose, your talent, your opportunity, your home? You have to become a detective. You cannot be a creator. You can't be an analyst. You can't be a storyteller. You can't be any of the things that let your mind trick you into believing something that isn't true. A detective is a person who gets to the truth by looking at evidence. And we have to figure out what's true about you. We have to figure out that compulsion. We have to figure out that meaning. We have to look for the spark in your eye when you do something great and know that that spark, even if the fear is overwhelming you, gives us a thread, a lead into what is unique about you. So you need to be a detective to find those threads. You can't be an analyst. And here's the reason why. Your mind is tricking you. You got to think of it this way. You got a little brain, you got a big brain. Little brain is the brain that's doing the talking right now. It's language, it's logic, those kinds of things. Then you got a big brain, and the big brain is emotion, intuition, it's instinct, it's all those kinds of things. The problem between the little brain and the big brain is they don't talk very well. So it's really hard for your consciousness, for your mind, to make sense of what your big brain is doing. So what you have to do is, rather than sit there and put together spreadsheets or think about that, is you've got to actually go back and witness yourself at the scene of the crime. You got to see what you did when you weren't paying attention. You got to see what you did when you weren't thinking. Because that's the point at which this compulsion, which already is inside of you, this meaning, which is already inside of you, this talent, all inside of you, is going to become evident. It's there. You're not going to create it. And so you have to discover it. And you're not going to discover it by tricking yourself into believing something. Why? Because the fear will tell you the story. The fear will tell you the story because your parents wanted you to be a lawyer, or your parents wanted you to be a doctor, or because everyone in your community works on the line making the car. Whatever it is, the fear inside of you will tell the story of what your greatness is and who you should be. You can't listen to that fear. It's not telling you the right story. It's hiding things from you. So you have to watch what you did. You have to watch what your action was so that you can actually see who you are. Accept that evidence. Don't judge it. Don't go through a period of time where you think, oh my gosh, I wasn't very good. Good, you weren't very good. That's great. That's information. That's evidence. That's what you need to know. There's no possible way to get to the thing you're great at without going through a huge swamp and morass of bad feelings about all the things you're not good at. And that bad feeling, by the way, doesn't really represent anything except a fear that other people won't accept you because everyone else thinks that they've got it nailed and you think you don't have it nailed. It's all crap. It's not true. Everyone's got the same fears you do. And so you've got to actually go in there and you got to look at what you do and you got to gather that evidence. And that evidence is going to come out over a long period of time. It's buried deep. And you're not going to sometimes like what that evidence shows, but you got to keep on the trail. And the way you keep on the trail is you experiment purposefully. Purposeful experiments. If you're going to go take a job quote unquote job, you're going to go compete with the robots, don't make it a job, make it an experiment. Be conscious about what you're testing. Think about what you're trying out. And then watch what you did. Don't fall prey to the fear that you had to do it well. Maybe you didn't do it well. That's great evidence. Maybe you really went home and your parents called you up or your friends called you up and said, oh my gosh, it's so impressive you work at that place or you have that job. But inside you hate it. That's evidence. Don't listen to them. Listen to that evidence. That evidence is what you need to gather to put together the picture. That evidence can only be found through purposeful experiments. So think of it like this. You're not looking for a job. You're looking to unleash your potential. And the way you unleash your potential is to run productive, purposeful experiments that give you good evidence that help you put together the picture of your big four, your purpose, your talent, your opportunity, and your home. And at a certain point through that hard work, either by yourself or hopefully with help of people who love you and are willing to tell you the tough news and help you gather that evidence, as you go through that, there will be a certain point where you are actually doing your work. You're doing the work you were meant to do. And when you do that, you will be excellent at it. It may be a little thing, but you will be excellent at it. And you will do it more because you are compulsive about it. You will get better at it with practice. And then the robots will never catch up to you. The robots will never catch up because you are doing something that's uniquely human. You're doing something that, at least for right now, as far as I can see, the robots aren't going to be able to take away from you. So don't find a job. Find and unleash your potential. That's what will give you competitive advantage. And never give up looking for the evidence until you actually figure out what your work is. I really appreciate this time. I appreciate if you've gotten to this point. Thanks very much. And I hope you have a great hunt.